What's up, everyone, and welcome to Shared Save the Game Media's weekly gaming discussion podcast. I am your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking all about that PlayStation DRM drama, Xbox financials are in, and so much more. If I get to that, got to introduce my co-host who is doing Naruto hand signs. He's about to Chidori, everyone. Sam Heaney, how are you, my friend?
I feel a little unhinged today, I must admit. I'm not sure why. It's just sort of the vibe that I'm in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I apologize in advance if I go off the rails. I certainly won't. I like to be professional. We're all professionals here. But if I'm not, then that's why. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprisingly well. Like I have, I think I might have said this on socials. If not, it might have just been internally on like IGN's Discord. I've basically like finished Saros's coverage,
Nice.
which is like unheard of. Like I had everything pretty much done prior to launch. And even then, you know, doing that, I didn't feel like I was rushing. So it's been one of the smoothest, most enjoyable projects I've ever had. And for it to be, you know, a game that I care about as well, I think obviously that helped, but that doesn't necessarily mean it would have been easy. And it has been. And it's really refreshing that I've gotten to have that. Inevitably, the next one that comes along will be absolute hell, but I'm relishing in the moment. So
Roblox PS5 coming at
please don't urge that into the world. You know,
everyone, I need you to go to IGN.com, the Roblox guide, and say, you know, this is really great. I would love an updated PS5 version, and then see what happens.
Yeah. You know what happens? I never come back. That's what happens. I will just hold you in contempt for the rest of my life. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I am exhausted. I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea why, but as soon as I feel like 2:30 hit today, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with the day. I got home, and part of me wanted to take a nap, but I was like, I have to eat dinner. I have to do the dishes. I have to do so many things. And instead, I wanted to sleep. But yeah, I'll get through it. Just a little tired, but gonna get some energy. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have to stop. Silken it. No, we cannot encourage this behavior. No, Silken it.
Logan says he has a direct connection.
I don't doubt that. With Keelhaul and everything, I'm sure that there's been some crossover there for sure.
Travis.
Yeah, that too. That's fair. Yeah. See, look what you've done, Kevin.
That's what
We're 3 minutes in.
Kobe. All right, everyone. Well, let's get into the main show proper. Thank you all for showing up. I see lots of people in the chat. I'm seeing Silkened, Logan, Black Wyver, Nissa Howard just showed up. Thank you for everyone joining in. We also have some people not chatting. Thank you for listening, lurking as you do. All right, so why don't we get into the housekeeping? This is Shared Save. We are live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/SaveTheGameMedia. If you can't catch us live, of course, every Sunday on your favorite audio platform of choice. While you're over there, please drop us a review. It does go a long way. If you want to support us even further and get early audio access to this content and exclusive bonus shows like our monthly Q&A and our monthly exclusive Shared Save episode, which we just recorded, head over to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia. Choose a tier that's right for you, like our current supporters. So thank you to Sam Hall, Outback Tom, Rick Davis, Silkenet, Dave Harp, David Hartwright, Lillian, Marcus O'Neill, Nikolai Knight, Fabulous Brianna, Brandon, Black Wyver, David Burdett, Dinglebomb, and Savoy Prime. Thank you all for your support. If you are interested, there is a 7-day free trial available. It is also just $1 a month. So any and all support we appreciate. Sam, that's housekeeping out of the way. So what have you been playing this week?
Not a lot, I'm afraid. It's a pretty boring week for me.
I don't believe you.
I mean, I wrote a list of things, but they're all mostly the same things, Kevin. So, you know, shock horror. I've been playing Saros.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa! But since last week, I suppose I platinumed the game. That was prior to launch as well. So that's another little tick that makes me feel good and happy that. Again, this special to me is something that I managed to get not only the work done for, but the entire experience done for before it came out. Not that that really matters in the grand scheme of things, but my brain works in weird ways. I can't stop playing it. That's the issue. I've done everything. I've gotten all the trophies. I've done all the work that I need to do for it, but I am still finding myself just sort of itching to run back in. And even if it's just for a singular biome, just doing a run, replaying a boss that I love, listening to the music cranked up full through the headphones. It's still a blast. I got my physical copy today delivered as well, so I'll leave that sealed. That's great. I'll keep this digital version fully installed. I purchased separately the digital deluxe upgrade for the additional cosmetics as well, because I'm a simp, and also want to support Housemarque first. I stand by everything I said, obviously.
So we had a nice hour plus long discussion on it last week for our full review that dropped early in the morning. Everyone, it's been picking up traction since it got closer to release. Funny how that works. Probably more people were getting antsy about it. But if you did miss our show last week because it wasn't live, it dropped early in the morning. It's like a 2.5 hour show. Nice hour portion of it is our Saros review.
Yeah. Besides that, we talked about this last week as well, but I've been playing a lot more over the past week. Vampire Crawlers as well. I said last week that I was playing maybe like an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I have now put, I can check for you because I didn't look before we started. I have put 7 hours in.
Okay. I expected worse. I thought you were going to say like 20 something.
Yeah, Christ. You can imagine. I think I said last week that I liked it, but I hadn't really gotten past where I was in the demo.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm properly into it, I think I'm in the 4th map. And there's multiple different difficulties for each map that unlock specific things. You know how Vampire Survivors works.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, man, it is like hooking me more the more I play. And I said that this was probably going to be the case, but I have reached the point now where I know how to synergize the cards properly. I know how to min-max the deck as I'm going through a run. I know what all the different mechanics are in terms of sacrificing cards to get additional mana or restoring health. And I'm finding more of what the different maps have to offer. And it is like crack cocaine. I said it was going to be, and it is. It's really fantastic. Do you know how many trophies this thing has?
Yeah, it's like 160 something, right?
It's like 196 trophies.
Okay, wow, I underestimated. Yeah, I'm interested. I watched a stream of it, and kind of they're going over the mechanics. It's like, you got the mana, but you want to play cards like 0, 1, 2 in like an order to maximize efficiency. And I was like, oh man, this game is going to be addictive whenever I get around to it. But it's not on the docket yet. I'm probably not going to pick it up for full $10. Probably one of those I'll grab it on sale. But I assume it'll be like $5 relatively quickly. But I'm glad to hear you're enjoying more of it. It is certainly one I want to get to this year.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you like Vampire Survivors, I think obviously it's a no-brainer. But I think just for like, not that it's in the same vein, obviously, as like a Slay the Spire, but any kind of like card/roguelite-esque games that you're into, I think that this is also an automatic purchase. So, I have no doubt that when you do jump into it, you're going to love it. Something you probably wouldn't love. I don't know. I don't want to presume. Kev. I'm not going to presume. Squirrel with a gun.
It's funny you say that because I was debating whether to jump into Squirrel with a gun.
Oh, okay.
I heard it's like Goat Simulator, and I'm not a big fan of Goat Simulator, but also like I think a squirrel with a giant pistol is kind of funny.
It's giving what's it called? A crab's.
Oh yeah, another crab's treasure.
That's it. Yeah.
Which I did like.
Gun. Yeah. No, I mean, and you're right. I think like the closest analogous thing would be Goat Simulator. I will say Goat Simulator sort of leans on the fact that it is super glitchy and is broken. this game is also kind of broken, but it's certainly far more competently put together than Goat Simulator. It gives off the same vibes, but I think that at its core, it is like a functional game where you can like reliably do things.
What a glowing review. It works.
Yes, as opposed to Goat Simulator, where you're kind of flopping around hoping that something correct will happen. It's, you know, it is what you think it is. It's like it is what it says on the tin. It's a game where you're a squirrel with a gun, and if you just want to jump in for a bit of mindless stupidity, and it is stupid, then it's a pretty fun time. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
You're doing it for the platinum, though, right?
I mean, I feel exposed when you say that, but yes, that is what I'm doing. But I mean, like, truly, it is. If you just sort of submit to the idiocy of it all, it is kind of funny sometimes. Just the absurdity of some of the things that you can do. So yeah, I've been playing a couple of hours of that as well. And there is something else, but I can't talk about it. Can't talk about it.
Yes, you can't. Not yet. You'll be able to talk about it next week.
Yes.
You'll be able to talk about it next week. Yeah, I'm excited to hear your opinions on that one as well, because I actually don't know any of your thoughts about it. I like it that way. I like the secrecy when we have things like that. Shout out Savoy Prime in the chat. How you doing, buddy? I also saw Nissa Howard say she was playing Wanderstop and Aphelion, which Aphelion is one of those games that's on my it's on my backlog. Like, I want to get to. I know the reviews weren't glowing, like 68 or something, but I love space, and I do think it looks pretty, and I like Don't Nod. Like, I don't like the, how do I put this? There's like 2 teams of Don't Nod, and I don't like one of them, but I like the other one.
I've seen a few outlier reviews for Aphelion as well, which are on the higher end, that said that they liked it as a story experience. So I'm not writing it off. I think it could be something that I get to eventually. Obviously, the reviews have sort of maybe soured the eagerness with which I might have otherwise jumped into it, but I will give it a shot eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think I don't think it's too expensive if you are looking to buy it. I think it's on sale for like 26 for like a launch discount, so reasonably priced. It's also on Game Pass. I know that. That's probably how I would play it. I'd probably jump into PC Game Pass and just knock it out. I can't imagine it's a long experience, but yeah, that's just the ever-growing backlog, everyone. Well, I have been playing quite a few things, actually, since we last spoke. I will start with the shortest one, and that is Colinoro. Sorry, it's a Madagascar word, everybody. So the developers reached out to me and was like, "Hey, our game is coming out later this summer. I think it's in September. I might be wrong about that, but they basically were like, we have a demo. You want to check it out? Do a little coverage on it." And I was like, yes. I love 3D platformers. I'll absolutely do that. So I played. It's a short demo, probably 30-ish, 40 minutes worth of game. You get a few levels, and I quite liked it. It's cute. It's vibrant, very colorful. It controls well, like it's not floaty. The 3D platforming is responsive. It's a very unique game, I will say. They're leaning a lot into their Madagascar-esque folklore here, where you are one of their, and I forgot how to say it. You're one of their folklore creatures, and your goal is to assemble a band of lemurs to combat the evil capitalist witch that is coming to your island and turning it into factories and taking over. So you have to get invited to their party by getting a band together.
Video games.
Yeah, video games. Yeah, and in between levels, this is really interesting for like a 3D platformer. I think you have like a bus you ride, which is driven by like a lemur, and your bandmates will be there, where you can like talk to them and play some music, and like it's kind of like a little hangout session where they really emphasize the vibes and the music, and they're trying to have a more artistic feel, not just hey, it's another 3D platformer that you've probably seen before. So I'm really interested. I'm really looking forward to the final game when that comes out.
Yeah, it's got a I mean this in the nicest possible way, kind of like a basic art style, but I find it quite
Yes,
appealing, to be
because
honest.
it's so colorful.
Yeah, there's a good use of color, vibrancy going on there. I will also say, Kev, obviously very different types of game, um, but it's, speaking of, talking about it being from a Madagascan dev, it's giving me similar vibes to like a Chia, right?
I
Which
knew
is
you
where
were gonna
it's
say that.
where it's like quite heavily representative of the culture in which it's
Yes.
created from. And I you know how I feel about Chia,
Mhm.
so I could be on board.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how much they actually lean into like the cultural aspect, or if it's just like the setup,
Sure.
or if it does play a heavy role throughout the game. Yeah, but like I said, demos out right now on Steam for everyone that wants to go check it out. But this summer, I believe the full game will release. It got on my radar because we didn't talk about it, but the Xbox had an ID at Xbox Showcase with IGN, I think last week or something. But there was so much other Xbox news that it kind of got overshadowed. So like I went and looked and watched that, and I was like, there's actually a few games on that showcase that I think went under the radar, unfortunately, like bad timing.
Yeah.
The other games I've been playing, we'll start with Mouse PI for Hire. I have rolled credits. I have wrapped up Mouse PI for Hire. And I shared a few of my thoughts on Blue Sky, the Muffin Mon over on Blue Sky. Go follow me. You can get all my gaming takes. And I know, I know this game's been a little controversial online. All right, there's been one reviewer over, where you work there, Sam, that may be getting some backlash for saying this is a 6 out of 10. I have to say, I kind of agree.
Oh.
I don't know if I would put a 6 on it, but I don't think Mouse is quite as good as I wanted it to be.
Mm,
Um, and it's interesting because there's kind of two sides to this game. One is the boomer shooter, and the other is the detective side that I would say. The boomer shooter, the gameplay, the movement, the guns, absolutely fantastic.
mm,
Love the feeling of playing this game. I think it has a problem a lot of boomer shooters do, where you have a plethora of guns in your weapon wheel. Doom has this issue as well, right? But you only really use the two or three of them at
sure.
most, right? Like you find your favorites. You're like, these are the ones I'm going to upgrade. These are the ones I like using. And for me, that was like the starting pistol I like. But once I got the Tommy gun, which was called James gun, which very funny.
Huh.
Yeah, it was over. That was my favorite weapon. It melted enemies. I also like the rocket launcher a little bit, but in boss battles, there's a weapon called the Devarnisher, which I think is
Mm,
really creative because of the black and white art style.
sure.
It basically takes the black, like it takes their, I don't know how you say it, the color away from their non-existent, and then they like melt into a pile. It's kind of like an acid gun, but creative. That absolutely melts if you upgrade that. Like boss fights were not lasting more than a few minutes. Like I was demolishing people. So gameplay wise, I think is really good. If you are looking for a boomer shooter like that, I would recommend it based on the gameplay. My issue does come from the story and the overemphasis on dialogue. There's just way too much talking. Like
Mm,
in between levels, you have to you have to drive your little car around this little map, and then you go back to Mouseburg, and you have to talk to a bunch of people. Got to talk to the reporter, got to talk to the mayor, and then I have to go up to my office and pin all the clues on the board, kind of like Alan Wake 2, but like every time you pin one, you have to listen to Jack Pepper have some sort of like epiphany about like why is this happening, and then figure out where to go. And you have to do that constantly. It gets really old. I think apart from there being too much dialogue, it's just overly serious. Like, guys, it's a boomer shooter where I'm a mouse with a bunch of weapons and I'm shooting other mice, right? Like, I why are we taking this so seriously? You're acting like I actually care about the dark noir story you're trying to tell here, where there is a story. It's like, oh, we're uncovering the missing the disappearance, I should say, of like an actress, and then there's some other things like police unrest and everything mixed in there. But like, I can't care. I can't care when they're all mice, and it's like, it should, if they had made it like a comedy and like not been so serious, like leaned more into like, oh, this is a comedic boomer shooter. I don't want to say high on life esque, but a little more funny. I think it would have played a lot better. But as it is, it just gets dragged down for me. Luckily, the gameplay was good, so I did stick with it. But yeah, I think there are issues in this game.
So good, but not good enough.
Oh my god. Yeah, just cut to the cheese, says Kyle in the chat. My god.
I struggle to believe it.
Yeah. Oh my god. You're nailing a lot of the cheese puns that are in the game.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
No, yeah, I mean, listen, I still think it's worth playing if you are a fan of boomer shooters. Again, it's not even that expensive. Like I think it's $30, and it's longer than you might expect for what the game is. But and there's side content too, which I think is annoying because I don't know if the achievements are glitched, but I got the achievement for like pinning everything to the board, but I didn't get the achievement for completing all the cases. And I was like, all right, that's gotta be a glitch. Cause like I have all the clues, I have all the evidence, all the cases are closed. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So there's a bunch of silly stuff going on there. But yeah, it's got side content. You can't replay any levels though. So if you miss anything, you gotta replay the game. Which can be frustrating.
Play with a guide.
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah.
Just suck the fun out of everything.
Yeah.
Why do I even do what I do? Why do I do it?
You write the guides.
I know.
All right. Well, Mouse PI for hire in the book. Thank you. Next up, I played and beat Dispatch.
Yes.
Took me about 8-ish hours, I would say, maybe 9, somewhere between 8 to 10 hours. And I posted about this on social media, and people did not like what I had to say about Dispatch. I'm just gonna come out with it.
Yeah.
The most overhyped game,
Boo.
at least in the last year.
Boo.
I don't think this game is nearly as good as review scores indicated. Like, it's high 80s, right? Like, I don't think it's nearly that good. I think I like the animation a lot. I like I like a lot of the voice acting. I don't mind the story, even if sometimes it does feel more like I'm watching a cartoon as opposed to playing a video game. But then you get to let me phrase it like this. There's two parts to this game, right? Like, you have the dispatch mini game section, and then you have the choices cutscene section, right? I don't mind the dispatch mini game. I thought like this is what everyone kind of had a problem with when I was hearing reviews and people talk about it, like, oh, I didn't like the dispatching. I thought it was quite fun being like, oh, what hero is best suited to go here? What combination of heroes? I liked upgrading the heroes to get better power-ups, like I forget his name, Golem.
Yep.
I thought at first, I was like, this guy sucks, useless. But then you upgrade him, and until you get the thing where it fills all the slots. I'm like, oh, now he's broken. He can one shot so many of these. I think my problem comes not from the dispatch mini game, because I did have fun with that, in the lack of choice and consequence. I thought there would be a lot more expanding and branching pathways. And really, after looking at it, like, you have two romance options. The one is very limited, like ends really early in the game, apparently. And then the other is, apparently I went with the one 52% of people chose, which I was surprised by. I think the game needed more romance options for one, because I didn't particularly like either of the options. Coop, my girl, would a that's the one that should have been a romance option. I also feel like the story plays out kind of the same, like no matter what you do, which I thought was disappointing. I don't know, man. I expected more. I expected this to be like an actual my choices matter, and I don't really feel like ultimately they did that much. It's also not nearly as raunchy and sexy as everyone says it was. All right, there's one scene in one chapter, and then it's basically like, it's fine.
Yes, but all the Gooners and the Rule 34s, Kev, you got to think of them.
I guess I don't. It
Listen,
was a fine game. It was a fine game. Completely forgot. I will move on, and Dispatch will never affect my life again.
Okay, chat. Stand back and stand by. Okay,
Yeah,
I've got this.
They don't like what I'm saying.
So fair. I think that there is a contingent of people out there that maybe think that Dispatch is overhyped. I am interested, like authentically, seriously, about your relationship in the past with Telltale specifically.
Never played a Telltale game.
Okay, so I think that helps color part of maybe what you were potentially anticipating with this game versus what I think the general consensus of people approaching this game was expecting. Because obviously, not to put words in your mouth, but I think that with that context, you were probably approaching this game expecting the degree of branching that came with like the dark pictures and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Other choice-based games of that ilk, Until Dawn and things like that. Telltale historically have been practically identical to Dispatch. Obviously, different sort of gameplay systems and mechanics and whatnot. But in terms of minor branching variants that then feed back into essentially, with minor variances, a singular endpoint, that's practically identical across the board for all Telltale games. Now, you could have a conversation about whether that is good enough compared to what Dark Pictures or Until Dawn does in choice-based games. That's a valid conversation. But for ex-Telltale devs to come together and put Dispatch out, I think is a really strong first effort. And I think that it's a testament that, even if they didn't click with you quite as much, they managed to write characters that people didn't have any preconceived attachment to beforehand. And now, you see it yourself, like the amount of cosplay and stuff that's going on for these characters. And I think that, as we talk about a lot, the idea of like the foundational game, I think that Ad Hoc kind of planted their stake in the ground. And I think that, and I would agree with you, I would hope that if Dispatch 2 happens, that they do really flesh out those systems, whether it's expanding on the dispatching or whether it is introducing a third avenue of gameplay, or whether it is creating additional branches. And I think they themselves said they would have been interested in having more romance options, but didn't because of budget or, wanting to just make sure that the things that they had were really good. So I get it. I disagree. I think Dispatch is great. But that's where differences of opinion are allowed to exist.
Also, make more likable characters.
I mean, what are you talking about? What are you talking? Who don't you like?
Most of the team I don't like.
Okay, so hang on. Wait a minute. Because you said something crazy that I just need to circle back to. You said that Coop, right?
Yeah, my favorite.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? She is a treacherous, conniving little woman.
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, when there's one thing where it's like one of the earliest choices, like, cut someone from your team, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who like the choices are, but I thought I was going to get the choice to cut whoever I wanted.
Sure.
And I was like, this little Irish punch guy, all he does is punch people in the balls. He's going. He sucks. He's the worst. Get him out of here. But no, he wasn't even an option. I had to cut someone I actually didn't mind all that much from the team, and I was like, I don't, because I'm not, I don't know.
But that's what makes the choice difficult, Kev.
Yeah, but it was annoying. Don't phrase it as I got to cut someone. It's my choice, and then give me two options. Listen,
I get it.
In terms of people I liked on the team, like I liked Invisigal.
Sure.
I liked Coop.
Mm-hmm.
Golem grew on me, just probably gameplay wise, and it had some good one-liners towards the end there. Malevola.
Respectfully.
Probably it.
Damn.
Like, Punch Up sucks. Flambe's the worst. Oh my god. If I could have gone in and just deleted him from the game file, would have instant, like, not funny, annoying.
No Blonde Blazer, no Prism. What
no, Prism, don't like it all. Annoying. She had one good line. One good line in the game. One good line in the entire game.
Free reign. Go for it.
Blonde Blazer, I think I told you this offline, but Blonde Blazer comes across as the basic character. Like, that's the default option.
Sure.
And I was like, boring. I'm never choosing. It's like, where is Ron and my Trails fans in the chat? All right. It's like if you play Trails of Cold Steel and you romance Alyssa. What are you doing? What are you doing here? You're just picking those basic character. Come on. It's like if you play Persona 5 and you romance on. All right. What are you doing? Boring ass choices. All right. That's how I feel.
I feel like we're going to war right now. This is crazy.
Yeah, most of the characters just. Also, why you gotta? I feel like Invincible is kind of having this problem. The Boys is having this problem. You're just trying to write dialogue that's a little too like vulgar for like shock value, as opposed to actually being good dialogue. Dispatch had that problem turned up to like 7.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about Waterboy Phenomenon? Any love there?
Oh god. Oh man.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Phenomenon was okay. Waterboy starts out really. I'm like, bro, I want to delete you from the game. So annoying. Finish a sentence. He grew on me from the Dispatch mini game. But otherwise, no, I don't care about Waterboy.
Chase.
I don't even remember who that was.
It's the old guy.
Oh, yeah. No. Didn't care.
Okay.
Didn't care.
We're done here.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah, there was that whole thing. And then I was like, oh, that's a shame.
Jesus.
What are you going to do? My bad, everyone. Just didn't hit. Didn't hit for me. But maybe next time.
What else, Kev?
That's all I've been playing. So,
God damn it!
Silken is stunned. Sorry, I'm sorry. I let
just
y'all down, guys.
The chat. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's it. Yeah.
I will say that, Kev. Something I forgot to mention. Obviously, the embargoed thing I'll be talking about next week, but also as like a little tease, I'm aware of a few things coming out over the next week, or that might already be out, that I'm interested in jumping into. I think, and I'm putting a prediction out there, next week, sometimes my what I'm playing goes off the rails a little bit. I'm predicting that next week is going to be the most unhinged list of games that we've ever had. So brace yourselves.
My list will be Yakuza Kiwami 3, everyone, in case you're wondering what I'm going
that thing that got me 89 on OpenCritic.
I don't think that's quite what it scored. I think it's like a 73.
You lied to me, Kevin. You tricked me. You deceived me. I didn't know
it was bad. I didn't know it was considered bad. All right. Yeah, Silken. I'm sorry. I let you down. Okay. Ryan Turfer. Yeah. Kevin thoughts on Dispatch confirmed just how opposite our game tastes are. And I love it. Thank you, Ryan.
Look at this. Look at someone trying to be civil. How dare
someone
they?
Appreciates the difference in our game. All right. Well, why don't we jump into the news, Sam?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna let you go first. You can keep up the anger, but I mean, not really much to be angry about these days.
Man, yeah. I mean, it's mostly a non-story, to be honest, but
Now, yeah.
it's something that was blowing up over the past week, so I thought it was pertinent to discuss. So if you've been sleeping under a rock, everybody, last week, reports started popping up of various people on social media flagging that apparently a new change had been introduced to both PS4 and PS5. So some players had noticed that new game purchases, digital game purchases, had a essentially 30-day lock on them that would necessitate a online check-in in order to keep using them. So that's DRM, obviously, for people that don't know. So if you played your PS5 offline for a month, your digital games, or newly purchased digital games would be unavailable to play. You wouldn't be able to play them after a month until you reconnected to the internet. Now, of course, casting back in the old days when Xbox tried this, the launch of Xbox One, there was a whole DRM thing where it was going to be always online. If you don't have an internet connection, we've got a product for you, Xbox 360, baby. Don Matrick, love to see it. This seemed like a shot in the foot, right? Like it was like, this is such an ass backwards dumb decision. Like it has to be a bug. There has to be some other explanation, because not only is it seemingly idiotic just in general, a self-own of magnificent proportion, but also you are laying yourself up for the exact same kind of own that essentially made you win the PS4 generation with the "this is how we share games," right? Obviously, slightly different context, but Xbox had a layup if this was an intentional thing that Sony was doing. And in some ways, now that we have an answer, it was an intentional thing, but it is far less severe than people were surmising. So people lost their minds for like 48, 72 hours, as is wont to happen. But in a statement to GameSpot, PlayStation broke the silence as they needed to. They should have done it sooner, in my opinion, but they broke the silence nonetheless. And they said, quote, "Players can continue to access and play their purchase games as usual. A one-time online check is required to confirm the game's license, after which no further check-ins are required," end quote. So basically, you buy the game, you have to make sure that you're online at least once you purchase the game, just to check that the license is all good. As soon as that happens, you can be offline for as long as you want, and you will have access to the game. So there may have been a few fringe cases where there was some issues, and people weren't quite experiencing that exactly. But this is the change that's being implemented, if it is a change. This kind of terminology from the research that I've done has existed since the PS4 Pro came out. But I think they're just being a little bit more definitive about it now. And it is, in essence, from what we're gathering, to close a refund exploit loophole on jailbroken or exploitable PlayStation 4s, where people could buy a game digitally on the PlayStation Store. That game would then populate a license on the console. And if it was jailbroken or exploitable, people found a way to refund that game, as long as they didn't download it, which is the policy for refunds. And that license, even after the refund goes through, would still stay on the PS4. So you would basically be getting games for free, which obviously they can't allow, even if it is a minute population of people doing it. So that's what they're closing. So essentially, Kev, I'm not going to say it was fully a nothing burger, because there is technically a one-time check-in, but that is really nothing new. It's what Steam does. It's what most platforms do. So whole load of nothing, but I'm glad that Sony clarified.
Yeah, Black Wyver, well, before they clarified, Black Wyver wrote in and said, "Why isn't Sony addressing the DRM issue to put end to a wild theories?" And there were wild theories out there, people speculating massively about what was going on. And I see Nissa in the chat saying, PlayStation should have communicated this when they made the change. I personally do agree with that.
Yep.
because apparently this has been in there for quite some this 30-day refund check, we'll call it, right? Because licenses have existed on the PSN for years, like a decade now, right? Like for your digital games, but then they added a new license type once the PlayStation Plus collection and games got added in there, right? Since you'd be able to check and see like, hey, you can access this as a license type. It tell you like whatever the PlayStation Plus coded one was. And then people notice, Nissa says March, I believe that's when it was added as well. They noticed a new license type and it was like, what's going on? It's some sort of weird DRM thing, as we all know now. I'm with you. I think people first, Sony should have said something immediately, and they shouldn't have let it go a few days before putting out a statement. So many content creators made videos about this, speculation about what was going on. They really let this fester when they could have just put out this message, because I think once the message is out there, it really is a non-issue for me. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I still know some people are upset. They don't want any check. They think you should just be able to buy a game and it's yours. You have the receipt. No online check should be required. I personally understand buying a digital game, and it's I'm a little. What can you clarify? All right.
Yes.
If I buy a digital game on PSN, I'm already connected to the internet, so the check would be happening at that time of purchase. No. Is this for people buying it through like the web browser and not their console or something? Because it's a very strange, like, how often would that situation occur? Because I couldn't think of a time where it would happen to me personally.
Yeah. So that admittedly is something that I'm not even super well versed in. My assumption, and I could be completely wrong here, but my read was that the license check-in has to happen when you actively like engage with the license.
Okay, so it's not just me buying it. I have to
It's
like
not
download
buying
it
it,
and boot
it's
it up.
yes.
Okay. So I could understand if you're a consumer and you buy games and they sit in your digital backlog, like you don't immediately install them. People do that on Steam all the time, right? Steam sales people are famous for that, buying a bunch of games that they're never going to boot up. And so, okay, I get it from that perspective. I was going to come on here and say, even before their statement, this wouldn't affect me because it's 2026. My consoles are always online. But
Sure.
I understand from a consumer point of view,
yes,
that is not a good answer because it still does limit your access, especially if you're in a situation where internet might not be available to you, or go traveling, people in the military, yada yada. There's a bunch of cases where that might not be the case, that can limit access to things you should own. So I'm glad Sony came out, clarified it, and I'm glad it does seem to be just to quell this refund exploit.
Yeah, and to Black Wyver's question, like, Barbra Streisand effect isn't correct, because that is like the explosion of a thing by trying to suppress it, and there's no evidence that PlayStation prior to making this statement was trying to suppress anything. But the similar sentiment exists probably, where if instead of like trying to suppress something and it blowing up, I feel like if they speak on it, it inherently becomes a bigger story than it might otherwise be. Obviously, this was gaining more and more traction, right? And people were getting concerned, and the hyperbole was growing, and all this fear mongering and stuff, which is justified to an extent. People were getting a little crazy, but like, I get why people wanted an answer, a definitive one. So I think that that's probably why they weren't saying something straight away, because if Sony tried to comment on all the little controversies all the time, they would be, and I mean this with all the love in my heart, they would be a bit like Xbox, and they would be overly communicative. I think like Sony is a Japanese company as well, so they like to be biting their tongue and just sort of keeping going for as long as possible. So that's probably why.
Hypothetical question here.
Yes.
Okay. And chat, you can answer this too. if they had come out and said, yes, you need a DRM check every 30 days, would that have affected your decision to purchase digital content on PlayStation 5?
I mean, for me, probably not, because I don't do it a lot of the time anyway. I very rarely do that. I mean, obviously, I just bought Vampire Crawlers. Uh, I, I bought Crimson Desert as well digitally. But outside of that, I do physical most of the time as much as I can. So it wouldn't limit my thing. But in spite of that, even though I am mostly physical, I think it would inherently make me think. It wouldn't necessarily prevent me, but it would be like that extra split second of thought that is unbeneficial to Sony, because any delay that you add to people like questioning whether they want to hit that purchase now button, that's a problem for Sony. They want it to be like, they want to give you every reason possible to just hit that purchase button without thinking about it and just spend money frivolously like they're a business. But so it wouldn't affect me, but I think that it would not necessarily en masse affect people's purchasing decisions, because again, in the Twitter social media bubble, this was a big thing, but beyond that, I don't know that it really would have been that big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't think general consumers would have even known.
No. And they are far more, they are far less hostile to this kind of thing, because all the casuals are about, streaming services where they watch shows, and it's like, well, that has to be always connected online to watch your shows. So, yeah, I don't know, not an issue to me.
Yeah, it wouldn't have changed my purchasing habits. Although I see Nissa saying she plays Xbox, PC, Epic, GOG, Steam. I primarily am PC these days, except for exclusives and certain franchises which I've long played on PlayStation, and they feel like PlayStation games to me. So I do play those there. All right, Sam, why don't we jump into our next topic of discussion, and that is Xbox financials and a Project Helix showcase. And by showcase, I use that term lightly, all right? Let's start with the Project Helix news. I think it's a little more positive. So Xbox has announced what they are calling a game dev update and said, quote, join us for a closer look at Project Helix with Jason Ronald and Chris Charla and what it means for developers. The stream will be live next week, May 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. They're talking a lot about Project Helix. I did not expect them to have this is clearly aimed towards developers, so I don't expect to see the hardware. I don't expect to see games running on the hardware. This is going to be I think that Mark Cerny tech talk, right? When he came out and was like talking about like the PS5 Pro and stuff, like how it works. I very much expect this to be a very technical stream, talking to developers about SKUs and GDK, like stuff like that, right? Like how you make games on the console, which could be interesting for people. I also feel like it might just be a repeat of their GDC press conference. Whether that is true or not, it does give me that impression. But is this, you have any interest in listening to them talk about Project Helix?
I mean, I'll certainly look up like a summation after the fact, right? But here's the thing, and I again, I'm trying to be authentic and sincere here. I wonder how much of this is projection, because of how tumultuous and turbulent everything is, and how far out presumably Helix still is. Like, at best, it is end of next year, and we're not halfway through this year, and they're talking about it. So that's ahead of schedule for when we typically start hearing about next gen consoles, because it's a year out typically that we hear. So we're still a ways off of that benchmark. Obviously, Xbox, they're being very candid about needing to regain ground and sort of reestablish principles and things like that, and that's fine. And that might give credence to why they are talking earlier than they otherwise might. I wonder how much of this is set in stone, right? Because if we're talking about all the technical stuff and this is for developers, does that mean, and this isn't a far out assumption to make. I assume that then means that whatever is in Helix is baked in now and it's set in stone. What does that mean in terms of pricing and how that fluctuates? Obviously, Asha herself has said that the RAM shortage and everything will affect the price of Helix, which was a foregone conclusion anyway, but she's acknowledging it as well. Yeah, I'm interested to hear what they have to say. I think that it will be, even if most of it is gibberish to us, it will be enlightening, I suppose, to maybe, hopefully, some additional aspects of Helix that we might not be fully privy to yet. So I hope it isn't just a repeat of, oh, well, it's going to look great and run great, and yes, you'll be able to play PC games. I hope we actually get some nitty-gritty details on exactly what that looks like. I hope maybe this isn't the avenue for it. I would hope we get some indication, like concretely, on what kind of PC integration launchers will be available.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Because I assume that's going to be a very pertinent thing for developers to know about what stores and launchers will be supported on Helix, because that will inform their development decisions. And any deals that they strike with Epic or whatever. Not that Epic really does Epic exclusives that much anymore, but still, like time will tell. I think that this could be a nothing burger where it's like, oh, we're just hearing the same thing again, like you said with the GDC talk, or it could peel the curtain back. I hope it's the latter, but I'm expecting the former.
It would be weird for them to repeat the GDC talks just because like all that information has already been out there and conveyed to everyone, right? Like
Sure.
it would just seem weird. So I do hope we get more into the weeds. Like we talked about GDC, build this one SKU and it plays across the Xbox, PC, console, series. Like how does that work? Like I want more details about what that looks like. Does it, I hope, and I would love some more information on bringing your older games forward into the PC ecosystem. And maybe this is all stuff that maybe that's better shown off at like a Xbox showcase. Like, hey, your library is now available on PC. Like that might be an announcement for that. But I don't know, just from like, I'm thinking technical aspects, what they could show off, like backwards compatibility. How does that work on the platform? But I think the big one is what platforms, like what do we mean by PC platform? And I see Silken, I wouldn't be surprised if it's only Xbox PC app. Just wouldn't make sense to, like, it doesn't make sense to me. Especially if you only need one SKU across Xbox and PC now. So they have yet to confirm Steam. Everybody speculated Steam and Epic, and they've only ever said PC games. So I really would love them to put concrete information down and say it's going to Steam, GOG, whatever. I'm not expecting them to. However, though, I think those are things you get when you reveal the box, when you're doing deep dives into like the OS and how everything works and operate. Like I feel like that's further along in the marketing cycle. I will say, however, I think it's really interesting that Asha has come in and basically won't stop talking, is tweeting constantly about everything. And now we're having these weird, like we didn't have this for the Series X as far as I remember. I think it's just interesting how transparent. I know that was one of their key things. They want to be transparent in that memo we read last week, right? So far they are being transparent about everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm famously skeptical about that. Again, how much of it is performative? How much of this? Yeah, and I'm not trying to suggest that these are sort of like vapid or insidious people. I just wonder when they're being candid about the fact that Xbox needs to regain ground. I think that it's a fair question to then ask of, okay, well, what are they going to try and do, and what image and ethos are they going to try and project, sincere and authentically or not, what they're going to do to try and fulfill those goals. And I think that transparency is potentially a win that can help to get people on board. Certainly the hardcore that are tuned into everything that they're saying, which arguably they do need to win back. But, and I said this on social media to replying to someone, that the last leadership of Xbox were trying to be incredibly transparent and engaging with the community and replying on socials and all these things, and it backfired massively because they made big bold promises, they used lots of exciting buzzwords, and admittedly the previous leadership used all of those things but never really actioned on them. They didn't really deliver. They just said, I think the term I used on social media was it was just a perpetual, the grass is going to be greener next year. Like, just hold on.
Yeah, that was a constant joke. Next year's Xbox's year.
Yeah.
Right.
And to Asha's credit, she and her team, whether a fair number of these things were, of course, already in the works prior to her taking over. But even so, she has clearly mandated quick changes, or sort of, fast tracked some of these things, which is good. But at the same time, she is making big, bold promises, even if they are very ambiguous and nebulous about the future of Xbox and returning to Xbox and making it competitive and affordable and all of these exciting words. And that sounds great. And like, if they deliver it, fantastic. But if they don't deliver it, Asher already has a number of receipts that people are going to pull up in the exact same way they did to Phil. And I think that's what really harmed the Xbox platform. And I don't want that to happen again. Like, that's not me like trying to dunk on them. That's like, I want them to succeed so we have competition. I don't want them to lay up the rakes for them to step on again. So, and that's inherently going to happen the more that they talk. So careful.
Well, birthday boy David Burdett, happy birthday, David, from Gaming Trend, right, and said, "Why is Xbox going back to focusing on cheap PR wins?" ? He's a patron, and he wrote in, just like you can if you're a patron over at patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia. I know we've kind of touched on this, and I included it as a question as opposed to a topic because I don't think it needs a full topic. I don't know if I would call them cheap PR wins. I would call them easy PR wins, in the fact that the Xbox fan base, myself included, has been so mistreated and starved for positive news for quite a while. Certainly the last 2 years, right? It kind of did feel like everything was going wrong at Xbox, like nothing was getting better. They're putting out great games, as we've discussed. We did our grading last year, and we both agreed they had a good software year. Like, they've had good software years, but like as an Xbox consumer, it was harder and harder to justify being on the platform, and like, at least that's the overwhelming consensus. So when I look at what they're doing with these interviews, everything's Asha saying, the community engagement, I don't know if I would describe it as cheap. It certainly comes across as a little pandering, but it also does come across as they know, and they've admitted this. Last week we talked about it. They know how people feel about them, and they need to do anything and everything to try to get goodwill back from the Xbox consumers they've lost, the consumers that stick around waiting for a brighter future. Like, they are trying to just put out constant good news, be transparency. We're talking, we're engaging with you. Like, this is the brand that appreciates you as a consumer. So when I look at it that way, I understand why they're doing what they're doing. Even if I don't know if it's the best move and can be a little parasocial at times, certainly. But I will give her credit. We are getting some small actionable items, right? And I said last week, like, these are things, small wins can lead to bigger things. And she continues to show that, whether it was planned or before or not. Even today, like, we got the Xbox Ally update with like the automatic super resolution or whatever it's called. That's basically a DLSS, but like with a not DLSS. I don't really understand how it works. But that's now there. You can disable quick resume, which people have been asking for 6 years on consoles. Like, you're getting console updates regularly now. You're getting more features. The Xbox mode is now available on Windows 11 PCs. Like, they're putting things out to have sort of this constant stream, keep Xbox in the gamer's mind. If you always have these little news articles tricking out, if you always have something. So I understand what they're doing. And I think it's working on a lot of people personally. But I need a little more than console updates, achievement overhaul. Like, I'm looking for big picture items.
Yeah. Like semantically, I think that I understand what David means by, cheap PR wins, but I wouldn't categorize it necessarily as that either. I do think that there is a degree of, and you've sort of alluded to this yourself in your own words of like, these things are nice, but these aren't really the things that are going to actionably change anything for the ecosystem. There are lots of subtle little things that are great to have. Some have been wanted for a long time, but really the proof is still going to be in the pudding, and we have yet to really see the seismic things that not only they suggest are going to happen, but need to happen if they want any kind of shift to occur with Xbox as a hardware platform moving forwards. So time will tell. I think, I err on the skeptical side more often than not. That leads to a lot of sort of pessimism or preemptive pessimism on my part, which I apologize for continuously.
You're British.
What does that mean?
Nothing.
You're right, though. You're right. I can't lie. It is the one caveat I have, then the sort of my skepticism is like, Asher is delivering on things, but ultimately, currently, she is just saying the grass is going to be greener soon again. She's giving you things whilst she's saying it, which is arguably more than Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond ever did. But don't drink the Kool-Aid just yet, people. Like, we can celebrate these little things. It's great to have. But big picture, I think we still need to really hold their feet to the fire. No matter how many little things they pepper out to us, it's like, no, the pressure needs to be kept on them. And it can be in a supportive way. We don't have to be like constantly going like, oh, Xbox sucks. But we need to make sure that they don't get comfortable thinking that we're now placated and happy because they've given us an achievement refresh. It's like, no, if you're serious and you mean the things you say, it's going to take a whole lot more than this. And that's not being unfair, I don't think, because they have put themselves in this position and made a lot of mistakes, and they can't just pretend that they're not in the situation that they are. So if they fight back, it will be one of the greatest comebacks that we've seen in the industry, and I hope that it happens. But again, time will tell.
Yeah, like I said last week, that roadmap they put out in that memo, we're gonna look back and see what they've accomplished in a few years' time for sure.
Yep.
We had another piece of Xbox news come out. Xbox financials for Q3 2026. Gaming revenue is down 7% overall. Xbox content and services revenue is down 5%, and Xbox hardware revenue is down 33%. Asha Sharma tweeted, quote, Xbox earnings today. While we have made progress expanding the business and our margins, player and revenue growth has not yet met our ambition. We know we have work to do to earn every player today and into the future. So I don't think these financials are surprised to anyone. Certainly not hardware, although I don't how can hardware continuously go down? Like, at what point do we just say like, hey, we haven't sold any hardware, right? Like, it doesn't.
I think they're actually taking Xbox units back.
Yeah,
with how far we've fallen.
Revenue and services down. It makes sense. They haven't really had like a great start to 2026, right? Like that's they just haven't put out anything.
Kiln, I
That's
guess.
which wouldn't even be included in this because Kiln just
Sure,
came
yeah,
out,
of
right?
course,
Yeah. But I do find it weird that she's commenting about this. Like, I guess she's CEO, but like this didn't happen under your leadership. Like these numbers were set in stone before you even got appointed to the position. So it's just, I just found the statement of like, you didn't need to comment on this. Like nobody's expecting you to have won all your players back and like the finances to be up and soaring and player growth and like nothing, as we just said, nothing fundamentally has changed in the land of Xbox to facilitate such a change in your financials.
Yeah, so like again, that's where my concern comes in. It's like you didn't need to say this, so who are you saying this for? Because it's not for shareholders. Because shareholders already had this baked in from the last quarterly report where these projected declines were already factored in. So you're saying it to the base because you're trying to be defensive. But again, you're right. Like if people are logical, this wouldn't reflect on Asher's tenure anyway, because this was prior to her coming into effect. And even if that is the case, I wouldn't expect to see anything that she has implemented thus far baked into the next quarterly report either, because we're not going to see seismic changes in the first few months of her tenure either. So I
was gonna say, I think anyone trying to judge Asha Sharma based on her first even year in charge, I think you're looking just to like pick a fight, right? Like change takes time. Enacting massive change like Xbox presumably is trying to do. Hello, Luke from the expansion pass. Shout out, Luke. Like Xbox is trying to do, or what they've said they're trying to do, that takes time. And I think I've said this before, but like I really don't think we can judge the leadership, this new era until Project Helix comes out, until we see their stance on exclusives, which I don't think is going to change in a meaningful way. Maybe timed exclusives, but I do think it's going to remain multi-platform. But I'm open to be wrong. But I think we have to give them the grace to say, what can you do with the next gen console? Can you make it affordable? Can you make it enticing to consumers, whether that's exclusives or another avenue? Can you continue to make Game Pass a viable service? The price decrease was a great first start, but you need more. Is it at the a la carte tier that we rumored about, right? Like what things is she going to do over the next 18 months, 2 years? And then we can really start saying if she's being successful in the role or not. I don't think looking at what she does this year is ultimately going to matter at all. Like the Xbox financials will continue to probably be this. I assume they will spike for things like Forza and Fable and Halo, especially when they're going to other platforms. But yeah, I'm very hard pressed to say you needed to make a statement here.
Yeah, so again, we talking about like they need to regain ground and all of that, and that's fine. But I also think that there is a point where you can speak too much and try to stem at the gate every single negative or negative skewing bit of news about your business, where it comes off as overly defensive. And if it's overly defensive, then it begins to look desperate. And I think the one thing you don't want is in this attempt that which they should absolutely be doing to regain ground, you don't want to appear desperate doing it. You want to appear confident doing it. And I'm not saying that this statement from Asher about the financials are in and of themselves desperate, but comments of this ilk, if Asher continuously speaks out for no, again, like you said, no real reason, because she didn't give any additional context. She didn't clarify anything. It's just sort of like, yeah, the numbers are bad and we've got a long way to go. It's like, yeah, we figured, that's we know. Anybody who's clued in enough to be paying attention to Xbox quarterly financials knows that that's happening. They know that the numbers are going to be down, and they're hoping that at some point the numbers will begin to climb up again. but that will take time. So anybody being disingenuous obviously wouldn't say that, but anybody participating in good faith will understand that that's already baked in. So Asher, I would just say I understand the impulse to be defensive, but you're never going to see Nishino or Herman Holst jumping out and going like, "Oh yeah, the numbers were down in the low single percentage this quarter, guys. We've got a long way to go." And I know they're in different positions on the market, but like, we don't need Asher, especially, who's the spearhead of this all, to be the one constantly speaking.
Yeah, I kind of just want her to keep working like what she's doing so far. These little updates, great, keep it up. But like once it gets time for the big ones, the June showcase, show us what's next. The Project Helix, the launch of Project Helix, like that's when it matters. That's when we start judging and seeing if things are really changing for Xbox.
Yeah, like again, looking back to the previous leadership, it was a lot of, like we were saying, wait till next year, wait till next year. They were doing a lot of telling and not showing, right? They were like, these games are going to be great, and it's going to be great, and we're going to have a game a quarter, and it's all going to be, yeah. And that never materialized. Asher is doing showing now, but she's also doing a lot of telling, and they need to make sure that the showing starts to overtake the telling. Like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, that's obviously what is clearly needed for them. And we spoke about it last week, but I think we could both be wrong here, but we're of similar minds as of right now. And this new statement also kind of reaffirms it, where they're saying about player and revenue growth isn't where they want it to be. And I don't see how those numbers improve if you cut off other ecosystems. Even if, the argument is that the majority of the ports that they've done haven't sold, you're still losing X amount additional money, and you're risking it to potentially regain it in other ways through Game Pass subs or people picking up a console. But that's inherently a risk compared to the low effort comparatively that it takes to get somebody already on another ecosystem to just spend 30, 40, 50, whatever dollars on a new release. So I'm still like affirmed, their North Star is player numbers. And they're looking at player and revenue growth needing to improve. I don't know that exclusives is going to achieve any of those goals, personally.
I do think it's funny, since exclusives are all the rage to talk about, with PlayStation pulling back from PC and Xbox, saying they're reevaluating their strategy. Then Circana today came out and was like, hey, our survey for player engagement, I think it was, right? Like said, what drives you to buy a console? And they said the number one reason was exclusives. And I go, okay, so this kind of like, I think we've both been saying that for ages now, right? I think everyone that always pushed back against the multi-platform approach was saying that. And I know that isn't the case for every consumer out there, especially younger generations. They're more concerned like where the games are across platform, stuff like that. But I do think people clearly are illustrating online in these surveys that like exclusives do matter to them, but I still don't think they can go back. I still think they need the revenue. I still think with a $1,200 console, like exclusives, locking them to something and I'm just saying if it's $1,000 plus console, right? Locking it to a box that expensive would only hurt the game. Yeah. Personally, I just don't think that's a big enough driver for people to spend that amount of money.
Yeah. And like we've both said before, it's like timed exclusives could come into the conversation, but in my opinion, as of right now, the only way that works is with games that they know guaranteed, despite launching later on other platforms, will sell gangbusters.
Like Forza.
Exactly. When you're taking a risk on something like South of Midnight or Keeper still not on other platforms yet. which is strange.
So someone actually, I was talking about Kiln, and then someone mentioned to me that Keeper wasn't on Switch and stuff, and I was like, I totally forgot that wasn't a PS5 and Switch game.
Yeah. When you're taking those kind of risks, I don't know that the delay. I mean, like the evidence is already kind of there, because a lot of the ports that we've seen for the smaller games are delayed, right, from launch.
Yep.
So like they've sold poorly, which is like that's not good, but they are also, majority of them, coming years or several months at the earliest after their initial release. So we still haven't really got the test of a smaller scale, more experimental, risky / new IP game from Xbox launching day one on PlayStation, outside of Kiln, but I don't think that's a good test subject.
Yeah, it's not doing anything
Great.
anywhere, right? Like Double Fine's giving away like codes constantly on Blue Sky. I don't know if you've seen this. They're getting like
I wonder why.
Every day they're giving away like 12 codes.
Yeah. So jury's still out, but I think that if they do want to do exclusives in any way, it needs to be for games that they are extremely confident in. And I think that for that to be the case, there needs to be some kind of reform to Xbox's QA internally, because they've had some patchy track records over the past few years with assuming that games are going to be good or received well, and they're not. So, Forza is a hit, and that is sort of de facto a timed exclusive. That's probably good for them. But they need to figure out what the next Forza is. And if they want to do timed exclusive, make sure that that one is timed exclusive. And by proxy, make sure that when that game comes out, it is as polished, as perfect as possible, to get the good review scores, so that it gets the engagement at launch on Xbox and then drives as much engagement as possible later down the line when it releases elsewhere.
I do wonder if it's interesting, and I think this might have come up in the past, but Fable is day and date on PS5, right? I'm really interested to see how that one does.
Yep.
A game of that, touted to be such a high quality game, but like, could Gears E-Day be a perfect windowing example of make that one another Forza situation? Can we replicate the success of a timed exclusive as long as the IP is big enough? I wonder if E-Day could do it. I don't know personally, but
yeah, I mean, there's lots of scuttlebutt going on of like, at the showcase they're going to show E-Day, obviously, and they're going to say that it's only going to be on Xbox at launch. And maybe I'm not convinced of that personally currently. I could see it happening, and I think that the window of opportunity is still there, obviously, because they haven't announced other platforms for it yet. It's just an assumption that we're working on, that it would be multi-platform. Yeah, but then they're in the bind because Reloaded came out and didn't do great, but then there were so many things going against that game, as we've talked about. So
bad port of a 20-year-old game, like
exactly.
If E-Day comes out and it hits like it should, like high 80s, low 90s, like get Gears back to the heyday, like that would be a good one to test that with.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, if we're being honest, I think that in spite of anything, like in a vacuum, it probably is incumbent on them to try and have E-Day as a timed exclusive, because otherwise, where else are they going to get the opportunity to try it with a big scale game? Because they can't make Call of Duty exclusive.
No.
Elder Scrolls is still a long way away. So really, there's nothing. And, I'm not besmirching any games potentially coming out next year, State of Decay or Clockwork or anything. But like we've said, they're firing off the big guns this year, right? So if they want to test big IP that isn't Forza and see if there is a precedent set for another big IP that could still succeed, delayed launch elsewhere, Gears is the game to try that with, in spite of Reloaded's sort of failure. So, because either way they learn, right? If they do that with E-Day, they keep it exclusive and then it releases and it sells incredibly well on PlayStation 5, then they'll be like, oh, cool, we can do that with more stuff. That might not work every time when they do it, but they will be more encouraged to do it. If they try it with E-Day and it fails, they'll be like, oh, so we're not going to do that really that much anymore.
Yeah,
because if E-Day doesn't do it, then I don't think that Fable could do it, and I don't think that Halo could do it.
Y'all better show up for Fable. I'm saying if you're on PlayStation,
I'll be there.
All right, you
I'll be
better
there.
buy it like day one if you can. If you got the finances, all right.
I'll be there.
Come on, support Fable.
I'll be there when it comes out in 2027. I'll be there.
Nope. September 26th.
March 2027.
September 26th is a Saturday. September 24th is what I meant.
So you're flexible on the release date as well. Good to know.
All right, Sam. I think that it will do it for the show today. Thank you, chat, for hanging out, chatting with us. Always good to see you. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you until next week's show?
Furiously, I'm not going to say that.
Wow.
I'm just going to be playing more Saros. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing nothing else, nothing untoward. But anywhere else, you can find me at Samini HUEA anyway.
You can find me at the Muffin Mon everywhere. It's a 1-7 IO and 7A. Follow us at Save the Game Media on Blue Sky to stay updated with all of your latest content. Until next time.